Hi, my name is Vern Collins. We are sitting in my office, which on some days looks like a place where I live, but it's home away from home. So I'm grateful to be able to share some of this space with you. So I've had the privilege of being on staff here at Boone United Methodist for over 20 years, and God has been so good to allow me to fill a number of different roles. My current role includes preaching and leading our Crossroads service most Sundays, but I've really loved getting to be in the sanctuary, and I love the rotation that exists now among our pastoral staff and the opportunity for all of us to preach in all of our worship services. And so that's something that will continue. In addition to being a part of pastoral care and the work that needs to happen there and caring for those in our midst and who are a part of our church family and beyond when they have need that crops up. So that's something that I will continue to do, but I'm very excited about the new opportunity that God has given me, and I'm excited to share a little bit about that with you this morning. So when I have conversations with college students or anybody who's considering what God might be calling them to in their lives, we have this tendency, and I think because of our culture, to worry about what the next thing is. But I've always believed that if you are faithful in the thing that God has placed you in, and faithful where God has planted you, then God will move and lead out of that. And I get to live that again. So I'm really excited about the conversation that began with Ed, kind of a what-if question, which is the way that God tends to operate in my life. But Ed came and said, hey, what if we tapped into some of the things that it appears like you are just naturally gifted in your ability to make connections with people and your ability to meet people where they are and love them where they are, but in the process, open the door for gospel conversations with people. And so I'm really excited to take on this role of pastor of outreach and pastor of outreach ministries. And the goal in that is to help equip us as a church with what it looks like to think outside of the walls of the church and to ask the question, God, who's not here that should be here? Who's not here that we want to know? We want them to know they have a place here. And that begins with meeting people and building relationships and making connections in our community. But then also learning what does it look like once we've developed that relationship to be able to have gospel conversations and to bring the story of who God is and specifically the gospel and the good news of Jesus into that. Jim Rayburn, who founded Young Life, which is an outreach ministry for high school students, used to say, we have to win the right to be heard. And I think in a time in our world when there is so much distrust around the church and what can be perceived as an institution, what we want to do is to redeem that picture of what the church is by winning the right to be heard, by being willing to meet people where they are and build relationships with people where they are. And it's how I came to Christ, and it's how I've tried to operate in my years of vocational ministry. So some of the things that I'll get to do in that is to provide training, to provide Bible studies and small groups for people of all ages around how is it that we engage with people where they are? How is it that we build relationships with the purpose of wanting to share the gospel and wanting to invite people into a knowledge of Jesus and trust that the Holy Spirit is the one ultimately who's going to draw them into relationship with Jesus. But what would it look like for us as a church to be willing and be available to be used? So there'll be studies and training opportunities to learn how to do that in a way that's authentic. We'll also be looking and asking the question, who is it that we're not really connecting with? There's a growing group of young professionals. It's a growing demographic in our community in the high country. We also have a number of students who are coming here or staying here to attend graduate school at Appalachian, and there's some great campus ministries and ministries for college students, but those primarily tend to focus on undergrad students. So how can we connect with and create space for students who are here doing graduate level work, and in that invite them to be a part of what God is doing in this church, and specifically love them with the heart of Christ. And if that's not something that's a part of their lives, then invite them to consider what that might look like for them. We want to be a church of people who recognize the sphere of influence that God has given us, and to say, what would it look like to bring the gospel into this? So whether you are an educator, whether you work in the business world, whether you're a mom who takes kids to the library every week for story time, whether you're a student, whatever it may be, God has placed you in such a way that there are people around you who want to hear and know the gospel. And so I'm excited to be a part of helping us explore ways that we can do that as a church. And as I said, just be available and be the catalyst through which the Holy Spirit works to continue to draw people to God through our relationship with Jesus. So I'm excited to continue on this journey with you.